I need you to get me out again, God. I'm locked up behind these walls again, God. I got these chains, I'm shackled from my hands to my feet. If you get me out this one more time, God, I promise. Broke into redemption. Yeah. Can't nobody tell me nothing, lost, but now I'm found. Broke into redemption, yeah. Gotta hold me down. Broke into redemption, yeah.
Yo, welcome back to another episode of Broken to Redemption podcast. I got my boy Art from Rhode Island going to come in here, tell a story, what it was like, why he got sober, and how he stays sober. So let's go and bring Art into the room. What's up, Art?
What's up, brother?
How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Yeah.
Can't complain, you know?
Right.
Every day above ground, clean is a good day, man.
Yes, sir. How was it Thanksgiving?
So it was good. We got to spend time. I murdered that poor bird.
Yeah.
I never cooked a Thanksgiving turkey. This is my third Thanksgiving clean. First time cooking the turkey, and it didn't turn out well.
Uh-oh.
I didn't know there was a bag inside. So I cooked it with the bag in there.
Hey.
Way overcooked it. It was burnt. It was a 20-pound turkey. About 19 and a half of it ended up in the trash.
Oh. Hey, you live and learn.
Right. So I learned exactly how not to cook a turkey for next year.
Just deep fry it. You sound like you almost fried it, so it may as well deep fry it next year.
I'll tell you what. I definitely cooked that thing, man. I definitely I could have used it as a bowling ball, bro. It was burnt.
Oh no.
Yeah, ruined it. The sides were good though.
Oh yeah, those are always the best. Can't go wrong with those.
They came out all right. So we ate.
Yeah.
Not much turkey, but we ate everything else. Thank God for cranberry sauce.
Yeah. So how long do you have clean?
So I got 8 months on the 25th.
Okay.
I got clean September 18th, 2023. I stayed clean for 18 months. And I ended up March 24th, 2025. I relapsed. And I went out for one night. And luckily, one of the better blessings that I got from Narcotics Anonymous was I can never use the same again. I went out. Can I say the substance?
Yeah.
All right. So I went out and I used cocaine, and I took 2 shots of it, and it was like a shot of shame and a shot of guilt. I thought I was under the impression that I had fun when I was high. I was wrong. It wasn't fun. There was nothing fun about feeling like I was having a heart attack. Right. Being in the windows again, looking, and sometimes when you go to the windows, you're looking for like the feds that are out in the bushes or the person that you robbed. Like there's somebody out there. Obviously, there's no one out there. But for me, this time, it wasn't none of that. It was my sponsor was in the bushes. He knew what I was doing. My girlfriend was out there. She got 13 and a half years. She knew what I was doing. My family, everybody that I rebuilt my relationships with over those last 18 months was out there. So it was a different experience that I'm actually grateful for, because at the end of the day, it showed me that, I can't go back. I can never use the same again, man,
Right.
Because now that I know through those 18 months that I can live a life free and clear, I don't have to go backwards. I can't not know that I can live that way, Over those 18 months clean, man, I experienced a lot of things for the first time, free and clear of drug use. I went on a vacation. I didn't have to worry about being sick, getting guest dose somewhere, having to go to some unsafe neighborhood looking for something so I didn't get sick. I didn't have to do any of that. I just got to enjoy the state of Florida, and it was wonderful. I went swimming for the first time that I can remember, clean. with nothing in my system. Something so simple, right? Going swimming.
Right.
43 years old. First time I went swimming, probably in my adult life, not under the influence of a substance. You know, the water felt different. It felt better. So many things, man. 19 years old, my son, 19 years old, right? First time in those 18 months, first time that he ever told me he was proud of me. My son existed for 19 years. Never said he was proud of me until I was 4 months clean. All of those things I could have lost that night.
Right.
You know? And luckily I didn't, man. Luckily I didn't. And it's funny too, because I was on my 18-month tour when I was using. So like the world tour, like at my 18-month key tag. I went to meetings every single day to go get that key tag. And when I relapsed, I came back and I made myself go to every single one of those meetings and get a newcomer key tag. And that was the start of my humbleness, my actual surrender, right? Because I really think like for those first 18 months, I was chasing the wrong thing. I was chasing clean time. I was chasing key tags and rounds of applause from people because of my ego, you know? I was chasing the wrong thing. For me, recovery and clean time are not the same. This time around, I'm chasing recovery, man. I'm working on me. Because I don't know about you, but when I got clean, I thought I only had a drug problem. That's what I thought. My problem was I do drugs. I'm addicted to drugs. Once I get off the drugs, I'll be fine. And that was not the case, man. You know, like I caught myself living the same way I was living before. Same character defects, same anger issues, the same defense mechanisms, all of that. And I was still taking a wrecking ball to people's lives, including my own, even clean, because I wasn't really recovering. I was just trying to stay clean, you know? This time around it's different, man. I'm chasing recovery. I didn't even know I had 18 months on the 25th. My girl had to tell me 8 months. My girl had to remind me like, hey,
yeah,
you got 8 months. Congratulations. And I'm just like, all right, I know I got today and I'm trying to be better than I was yesterday.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing, man.
That's all we can do. Better than the day before.
That's it.
So you grew up in Providence, Rhode Island?
Yes, sir.
What was life like growing up there?
So I grew up for the most part in 2 neighborhoods. I grew up in a neighborhood called Silver Lake, and I grew up in a neighborhood called Mount Pleasant. So Rhode Island's very small. Very, very small. So we moved around a lot. I went to a lot of different schools. It's not really like Cali, right? Because I told you I lived out there. Cali's really big.
Yeah,
you guys got all these big counties and everything. Over here, the state is little. Providence is even smaller. It's the capital city here. It's even smaller. Everybody knows everybody, especially if you're outside, right? Everybody knows everybody. And the thing with Providence is there's a lot of violence. There's a lot of drug use. It's prevalent. It's everywhere. So I was exposed to drugs at a really early age. And it's a predominant, where I was living was a predominantly Black and Spanish neighborhood.
Okay.
There was a lot of white people too, but it was more Black and Spanish. And the early years were tough, man, because, you know, I was a quiet kid, and I wasn't really cool enough to hang out with the Black kids, and I wasn't really white enough to hang out with the white kids. So it was like the first 9 years I did a little loner thing, you know. But it's a lot like every other major city that you have, man. You got nice areas, you got drug poverty areas, you got gang areas, you know, projects, nice areas. Like I said, it's like every other city in America, man. You know, same problems, same social justice problems, same everything, you know.
Right.
It's just smaller. That's all.
So when did you first get introduced to drugs?
9 years old.
9 years old?
9 years old, I tried pot for the first time. Me and I had a friend at the time Joffrey. He was my best friend. He was from an area called Smith Hill. And God rest his soul. He's gone now, but he was my boy, man. That was my guy. And he had some weed, and I'll never forget, he rolled it up. We was on a place called Pleasant Valley Parkway, which is like near one of the hospitals. It was actually near the school we were going to at the time. And he lit it up. And I remember the first time I hit it, I blew it out. I didn't inhale it. Excuse me. I just ate breakfast. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
And he was like, nah, that's not how you do it. You got to do it like this. And he like, hit it and then inhaled it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, all right. I did that. I coughed a lot. But I remember the feeling that came over me. I was like, ooh, I like this, And that was it. That was my introduction to getting high, man. And I'll tell you right now, it was my first love. It was my first love, man. I loved it. It was like, it filled the hole that I had inside of me. I know that now. I didn't know that then,
Right.
A lot of the stuff I know now is thankful to the work that I've done in recovery, but that's what it was, man. I had a hole inside of me that I was trying to fill with anything, any kind of acceptance from anybody, no matter what it was. As long as I got accepted and people liked me, I wanted to do it. And I'll be honest, man, I liked it. When I smoked, it was like two highs at once. Like I got high from the drug, but then I also got high from the acceptance I got from other people while doing it.
Right.
So yeah, 9 years old. And may I add, it's also the first year I got arrested. And I'm sure there's no, at 9 years old. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. It's also the first time I started cutting school. I used to think it was a cliche, right? Like, oh, it's a gateway drug, and oh, that's silly. For me, that's exactly what it was, man. It was a gateway drug, and it was a gate to hell. I just didn't know I opened it and walked through it.
So looking back, what were the first signs that your environment was shaping the path you take? Did you notice it early on, or you're 9 years old? I don't think
so. At realized. 9, I didn't then. Like I said, I didn't know that I had just opened a gate to my own destruction, right?
Yeah.
I would say I didn't realize I was going down a bad path until I turned a teenager, right? So what happened with us was at the school I was going to, the school I just mentioned that we was near when we were smoking, there was a lot of gang activity in this school. It was the early 90s, and there was a lot of gang activity in that school. And one day, it ended up making news. Somebody brought a gun to that school, and they had gotten stopped like on their way in. And my parents, who did not have a lot of money, my parents were jewelry workers, right? But when I say jewelry, I mean costume jewelry. They wasn't in like a real jewelry business. They were in costume jewelry. My father was a polisher, didn't make a lot of money. My mother was an expediter. She didn't make a lot of money. We really didn't have a lot of money in my house. Food was hard to come by. It was tough. Anyway, when that situation happened, my mom was like, yo, we got to get these kids out of here. Right. Because I got 3 brothers, 2 sisters. We got to get them out of here. So we moved to a place called North Providence, which is a suburb of Providence. However, when we moved there, this was a very affluent neighborhood, right? Most people have money. We moved to mill houses, which is like row houses. If you need a visual, have you ever seen The Wire?
Yeah.
Baltimore?
Yeah.
Like the row houses that they had in that show?
Yeah.
That's basically what we were living in. And we didn't have a lot of money. And everybody else did in these schools that I was going to. So once again, I got to start kind of over, right? So I don't fit in this time because I'm the kid who's wearing the dingy clothes to school.
Right.
I'm the kid who lives in the village, so I don't got money because that's what it was called where we were living, the village, the Ville. And, a lot of people, they didn't take to me right away. So and they would be like disrespectful towards me. So I started getting violent. And that's when I realized that, I mean, I knew it. I just didn't know how to stop because I was so young. But that's when I realized I was taking a turn for the worse, right? Because I liked violence when I was younger. I wasn't a punk. I didn't start stuff. But if you said anything to me remotely close to being disrespectful, I would want to handle that immediately. And I started getting suspended from school for fighting. I started getting arrested for fighting. And also in my teens, I started doing LSD, acid. And that didn't help my situation at all. I became known to the police in this area in North Providence. And let's just say I couldn't get away with anything. You know, I would, if somebody crossed me in any way, shape, or form, or spoke to me even in a way I didn't like, I would handle it right there on the spot and usually end up getting arrested for it. That's pretty much when I realized I knew I was going down the wrong route. I just didn't know how to stop. I just didn't know how to, because again, it wasn't that I wanted to be violent. It was just, I wanted to either be left alone or accepted.
Right.
You know? And I started getting into a lot of fights. I started getting into a lot of trouble. When I was 13 is the first time I got put in a, what we call here the training school. I believe you guys out there used to call it youth authority.
Yeah.
So that was my first experience into getting put into a locked facility. And I remember the first night I was like, damn, man, I don't want this to be my life. But I also was too young to know how to get out of it. I didn't know how to stop, you know? And yeah, I would say right around that time is when things started going way left for me, you know? That's when I realized I was having a problem. As young as 13, I was drinking every day. I was smoking weed every day. We were taking acid. Like I took a lot of acid at a young age, you know? And, but I had never touched anything else. So I didn't think, like in my mind, right? It was, if you're not doing cocaine, you're not doing heroin, then you don't have a problem.
Right.
So that's what I looked at it as for a while, man. Like I'm not doing these hard drugs, right? I'm not doing those. So I don't got an issue. I don't have a problem. I'm good. I was severely mistaken, man.
Yeah. So how did being locked up as a youth change you? Because I know for me, like the minute I stepped foot into juvenile halls when I was 12, like I thought that I finally had arrived, and this is the way my life's going to be. And I put gangsters on a pedestal and I wanted to be just like them. So it shaped my future for sure because of the mentality that I had.
So for me, it did the same, but I'll never forget. It was the first fight that I got into while I was locked up. There was someone in there. He was talking to everybody. It was my second night and he was talking through the doors to everybody. This kid, Larry, I'll never forget his name, Larry. He was running his mouth through everybody. And then he said something to me along the lines of, white boy, I'll throw you a beating or something like that. And something in me just clicked, right? Because every other white kid that he talked to in there didn't say nothing back. And I was like, this ain't going to be my life while I'm here. I'll tell you that right now. You know what I mean? So I made up a choice in my mind. As soon as these doors pop in the morning, I'm coming out and we're going at it. And that's it. And he was a big kid, man. He was not little. But that door popped, man. And I just shot right out, went right at him. And I handled mine, man. I did pretty well. And I remember the praise I got for that. And that was another high for me, right? And I was like, all right, so this is how I have to handle things, you know?
Yeah.
And for me, it wasn't necessarily gangsters that I put on a pedestal. What it was just the people outside that were making money and had respect. Those were the ones that I put on a pedestal, right? And I knocked off the pedestal people like my father, who just was trying to work all day and make money that way, you know? I had two older brothers. Both of them were hustlers. They made money outside, and that's what I looked at as what a man does. A man. I had such a distorted thought process. I thought as long as I don't snitch on nobody, as long as I don't touch women, as long as I don't touch little kids, I'm a man.
Yeah.
It was just looking back, it was just such a dysfunctional thought process, man.
So how long did you do on that
I did
time?
10 months.
10
10
months
months on my first one. Yeah.
So how was it? That was your first time to like a correctional center for kids? So how did you feel when you got released?
Brand new. When I got outside after that, it was people wanted, now all of a sudden in this place, in this town that I wanted to be accepted in so much, right? Now all of a sudden these rich kids want to be my friends and stuff, and I started getting a reputation as somebody who could fight, and I ate it all up, Looking back on it, I wish I could have ate up the other things, man. I wish I could have got that same love that I was searching for from getting an A in math or something. Because who knows where I would have been, But that's not what it was, man. That wasn't my story. I ended up getting that other reputation, that guy who was a tough guy, So yeah, by the time
Go ahead.
Yeah, by the time I came home, man, that was it. I wouldn't say I was fully engulfed by drug use, right? But I was fully engulfed in the fact that like school was out. I didn't care about school. I wanted to sell weed. I wanted to, be outside with the cool kids, So that's what my life was by the time I was 14, man. That's what I cared about. The wrong things.
And then how many times did you go back to that correctional facility?
So I actually was able to stay out.
Okay.
Because what happened was I got into boxing. I was a pretty good athlete when I was a kid. I was good at basketball. I was good at baseball. I was good at football, and I played all of those sports. When I got out, I started doing all of that. And but I started boxing, and that took 1 foot out of the streets for me, right? But I still had 1 foot in there too, But I was able to stay out of trouble for a little while. And then when I was 16, a friend of mine was fighting outside, and he was starting to lose. So I ran up and I was like breaking it up. And an older kid who was actually over 18, he came up behind me, and I was a smaller kid at the time. Like I hadn't had my growth spurt yet. And this kid came up behind me, man, and he started choking me from behind. And I remember like going out thinking, wow, this kid's going to choke me to death. And I woke up almost face down in the gutter, like my head up against the curb almost. And I could just feel pressure on the back of my head. What that pressure was it was him kicking the back of my head. And I actually came to like that. And I was like, oh my God. And when I put my hand like this to get up off of the ground, it just so happened my right hand was on a pretty big rock. And I got up with that, and I evicted a few of his teeth with it. And right there, assault with a deadly weapon, intent to commit bodily harm, right back. And nobody, because like I said, the reputation I had with those police in that town in North Providence, it wasn't a good one, man. They didn't want to hear self-defense. They didn't want to hear I was getting choked, because if that's the case, then it's just a simple assault on him.
Right.
But now they got a much bigger case with an assault with a deadly weapon and intent to commit bodily harm and all of that. So, yeah, they snatched me up. They didn't want to hear nothing about what that kid did to me first. They didn't want to hear that I was a minor and he was an adult. They didn't want to hear none of that. They just had me with priors. See you later. And nobody wanted to hear it, man.
How were your parents during all this when this happened?
My father was very disappointed. My mother was I would say my mom was disappointed, but my mom was also, so my mom grew up in a weird way. I mean, I guess we could get to that, but my mom was like, hey, he was getting attacked by an older kid who's not a juvenile. And she was like kind of acting like a lawyer almost. But my dad was like, my dad seen what I could have been while I was like, he seen the potential in me that I didn't see in myself. He came with me to the gym every day. He seen what I was capable of, which would have been good things, you know?
Yeah.
He was disappointed, man. He was like, hey, look, you're throwing something away that you got, and I don't know if you see it or not. You know, I'll never forget. He had a lot of disappointment in his eyes when we were talking because I made bail. And I don't even know how my parents came up with the bail. I'll be dead honest with you because we were broke. But they came up with it, and I went home, and you know, a couple months down the line, they were like, all right, look, he's going back, and that's it. So I went back to that same facility. And this time, though, an organization called the Christian Brothers, they came down there and they snatched me up and they were like, look, you're eligible for our program, which was basically a program for city kids who were broke to go to instead of staying in this lockdown facility, we got to go to this. It was almost like a group home type of a thing, right? It was way out near the beaches, like 45 minutes away from where we grew up. And they brought me out there. And I got to a point where I started being able to go home for the weekends and stuff like that. And that was actually a good experience for me. You know, that I kind of liked that place. You know, it exposed me to something I had never seen before. I was used to city living. We didn't really eat dinner every night. That was the first time in my life that every single day I had breakfast, lunch, and dinner, if other than when I was in the training school, you know? So I kind of liked it, man. And I took to school because I didn't have nothing to do afterwards. They had school there. We would go to school every day. And they had a basketball team. I got on that basketball team. I was doing well for them. And, you know, it was cool. It was new to me. Something new, you know? And, yeah, that was it for juvenile stuff, man. You know, that was also the beginning of my actual downfall.
So how long was that? It was like a program, you said? How long?
Yeah, that was a program. It was supposed to be an 18-month program.
Okay.
But I told you about this. My dad got sick.
Uh-huh.
And you know, I found out about he had been sick for a while. They were keeping it from us, you know, while he was going to the doctors trying to figure out like what was going on with him and stuff. And it came down to a point where, you know, he was terminal. And one of the things that I really hate is that he didn't have to be terminal. If we had money, he wouldn't have been terminal because there were ways to save him.
Yeah.
But we didn't have money. So anyway, yeah, he became, you know, when it was determined that he was terminal, they brought us before a judge and they asked for a compassionate release for me so that I could be with him for, you know, his last time here. And I'll never forget the gentleman who was in charge of the place I was at. It was a place called Oceansides. The gentleman who was in charge said to the judge, I don't believe that he's ready to be released to society. Yes, he's in a tough situation, but he's not ready. And I remember thinking, wow, you bastard.
Yeah.
You know, looking back on it, that guy was trying to save my life. And I didn't realize it. I was just angry. You know, by that time I was angry. Look, my dad was everything to me, man. In a dark household, my dad was the nightlight, man. That was my guy, bro. He made me laugh. He was my best friend growing up. You know, I loved my dad, man. And I miss him. I miss him a lot. And it's still to this day, it's tough, you know, to even talk about him. It's hard, man. That was a rough time. That was a rough time.
So when he passed away, do you feel you went off the deep end even more?
100%.
100%.
100%. I stopped caring about anything by the time. So what would happen was they let me go. I went back home. We moved from North Providence back to Providence, and we were living on a street called Manton Avenue. Anybody who's from Rhode Island, Manton Avenue was infamous for gang activity, for drugs, for prostitution. It's just infamous. And that's where we moved to, man. And it couldn't have been a worse place at a worse time. It just couldn't have. And yeah, man, it was rough because so my dad had hepatitis C, which turned into cirrhosis of the liver, right? And what would happen to him was he would come home from the hospital for a couple of weeks. For the first week, he'd be his normal self. And then after that, he would get really sick, and we'd watch him struggle for that week. And then we'd have to take him back to the hospital. And then he'd be there for a couple of weeks. They'd stabilize him, send him home. And it was like this never-ending cycle. And it got to a point where it was like, all right, he's not going to make it out. He's not coming home this time. This is going to be the time where he stays. He's going to pass away. But he was such a strong guy, man, that like they would tell him that, and he would look at us and be like, I'm coming home. And he would. And he would. And in my young mind, I started saying to myself, he's going to come home every time. He's going to be fine. He's going to be all right. You know, he's going to make it. And then we were getting these false hopes going, right? Doctors saying, oh, well, he could survive with a partial liver transplant, right? Because they got to a point where he needed a liver or he was going. And we wanted to donate part of our liver. So we all took the tests. And I was compatible. My older brother was compatible. But my father wasn't having it. He was like, listen, we ain't doing that. And I didn't understand it then. Yeah. But now being a father, I completely understand what he was saying. His point was, look, if I wake up on that table and one of my kids don't, I'm not going to be able to live with myself anyway. In other words, he was still putting himself, he was putting his peril, our safety above his peril. You know, like he even with his life on the line, he was caring more about our lives. And you know, looking back on it, that just makes me respect him even more. You know, it was a great. My father was a great man, bro. And like I said, I miss him a lot, man. It's tough to talk about him, dude.
I bet. So after all that happened, he passed away. Like, what road did that lead you down? Did you experiment with the harder drugs, or did you? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, immediately. So he passed away January 10th, 2000. I'll never forget. It was the night the Patriots won the Super Bowl, their first one, 2000. 2000 and actually, no, I'm sorry. That was the first night I tried crack. So the first night I tried cocaine powder form. It was January, like later on, January 20 something, right? 2000. I was at a local bar. It's closed now. It was called Old Timers, and I was there with a bunch of knuckleheads, and somebody broke it out. And I had no business being in a bar, by the way. I was 18. Actually, I was 17 turning 8. No, I was 18 turning 19. And I was in there. Somebody broke out some lines, and I was like, fuck it. You know, at that point, I didn't care. So I tried it. And up until that point in my life, that was the best feeling I had ever felt. My first one, man, you know, it felt great. I felt amazing. I felt like, damn, we're having a great time. This is wonderful. Everybody loves me, because once again, it turns into that what I'm filling this hole with, right? This I'm numb in pain. So it felt great, man. And that was really where, you know, it just started to take over. I started to try to sell it. I was the brokest drug dealer you ever seen in your life. tell you right now, man, I was the brokest drug dealer you ever seen, man. I would sell just enough to be able to get some more.
Yeah.
And put the rest up my nose.
That's how I was.
That's what life became for me, man. It became this drug haven. You know, this I needed to be me. And that's it, man. That's when I put that first line up my nose, I also threw my life out the window.
And you realize
it seems like I put my head down to do that first line at 18 years old, and I picked it up a homeless drug addict in Boston at 42. Everything in between was consumed by that first line that I did.
And then you got into opiates too?
Yeah. So I tried to go back to boxing after my father passed away. Was not the same for me. He just wasn't there. And it wasn't the same. He was my biggest fan, you know, and it just didn't feel right. But anyway, I was in a sparring match, and we both threw left hooks at the same time, and elbows caught. And when they caught, I tore something in my shoulder, and a doctor prescribed me Vicodins for it. And those things made me feel amazing too, you know. I didn't feel the pain from my shoulder, but I also didn't feel the pain from anything else. You know, it numbed everything. It didn't just numb the pain from my shoulder. It numbed the pain from losing my father. It numbed the pain from not loving myself. It numbed all of it. And I was at home, what I thought was my home anyway. And the doctor gave them to me for a good 6-7 months. And I'll tell you right now, man, I'll never forget. The day I went to that doctor's office to get my refill, and he said, "Nah, you're all set. You don't need them no more." I was like, "Oh, wow, that sucks." I wasn't sick yet. So I said, "Oh, wow, that sucks." Left on my merry way.
Yeah.
About 12 hours later on that day, I start feeling terrible. I start feeling like weird. I didn't know what was going on with me. I start throwing up in the backyard. I'm like, my brother, my older brother, Bo, comes out and he's like, he sees me throwing up, and I like I'll never forget. I was sweating. I was shaking. I was throwing up. Anybody who's been through the opiates, dope sick, you know what I'm talking about. And I put my hand on my brother's chest because he's he's huge. Put my hand on his chest, and I'm like, dude, I don't know what's wrong with me. And he goes, I'll never forget. He kind of laughed, and he goes, "You're dope sick. What do you mean you don't know what's wrong with you? Been taking them things for the last 6 months, kid. Like, you're not all right." And I remember thinking in my head, all right, so if I just have them now forever, I'll be good. I'll never feel like this again. Instead of saying, all right, go through this sickness and never touch them again, and I'll never feel like this again, right? My thought process was, as long as I got them forever, I'll be good. I'll never feel like this again. So once again, Ott goes off on his drug dealing capades, right? And once again, the brokest drug dealer you ever seen. I would buy them, sell just enough to be able to buy more and eat the rest. And I got from a point where 3 of them would have me whacked all day long to eating 35, 40 of them a day.
Damn.
Right. And it went from... It just snowballed, man. You know, it snowballed. So by then I'm into my 20s now, right? And I got like a $200 a day habit because I'm eating. It ain't no longer the 500 milligram Vicodins. Now it's the 1,000 milligram Vicodins, and I'm eating 35, 40 of those. And lo and behold, somebody introduces me to OxyContins. And keep in mind, this whole time I'm saying to myself, I'm not a junkie. Everybody else knows I'm a junkie, but I don't. Because I'm saying to myself, junkies, they shoot it up with needles and they do heroin and they smoke crack. And I don't do none of that. I sniff coke and I take pills. I'm not a junkie. I was a fucking junkie, man. But anyway, OxyContins come around. Somebody introduces me to an 80 milligram OxyContin. and tells me, hey, you don't have to spend $200 some odd a day on these beans. What you can do is you could take this $20 pill, you could cut it into 4s, and you could get high 4 days in a row with it. That's how strong they are. And I'm like, oh, word, that sounds fucking wonderful. Let's do that. Sick head, man.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, sounds great. Let's do it. I start doing that. But it don't take long. You know this. Your tolerance builds up.
Yeah.
And before I know it, it's no longer a quarter a day. Now it's a half. Then it's no longer a half a day. Now it's a whole one. And then it's no longer 1 a day. I need 2. And then 4. And then I got up to where I was taking almost 10 of them a day sometimes. That's a monster habit for somebody that's 23 years old, man. That's a monster habit. And once again, it's a $200 a day habit.
Yep.
Just like that, you know? So that's when, once again, one of my friends, right? He's got the answer to my problems. You don't have to spend $200 a day on these OCs. You could just buy a brick of dope. And by the way, I don't mean a kilo. Back then, they sold bricks, packs. You know, they were bundles of $6 bags, right? And he was like, you could buy a little bundle, $10 bags, and that should have lasted for the next 2 weeks. And of course, he was right, because all I had to do was a little match head of it.
Yeah.
A little tiny match head. And now all of a sudden, I don't need to spend $200 anymore. I got this $6 bag, and it's going to last me 2 days. And I got 10 of them. I'm good. I'm good. My prayers have been answered. Thank you, God. But again, the tolerance builds. And that's it, man. You know, like you get caught in this, I'm not that bad because I'm only doing this and not that. But you know what? Eventually I was doing that because I was doing that. It went from that little bundle lasting me, 2 weeks to a bundle a day, putting it up my nose. And once again, one of my friends, my boys, you don't have to do it like that. You could just shoot it. If you shoot it, you don't got to do the whole 10 bags. You could do a half a bag and be good for the day.
Yeah.
Now, that's what I'm doing. Putting it in my arm, man. And you know what? The same thing happened. See, I kept pushing the goalpost. I'm not a junkie because I don't do this. I'm not a junkie because I don't do this. Well, as long as I don't use a needle, I'm not a junkie.
Yeah.
And then push the goalpost so far.
Right. So the moment, because I know for me, I used to be that person. Oh, I'll never slam, right? It's gross. And then by the time I came to it, right, and I actually did it, like, I didn't say, look what I've become. I said, oh, it's just the way of life now, right? So the moment you injected it into your vein, what were your thoughts?
I can't lie. This is amazing.
Right.
It wasn't, I was so sick by then. Keep in mind, by this time I got 2 kids.
Okay.
I didn't look at it like I'm not a good dad and I need help. I looked at it like this is the answer to all my prayers. Once again, bang, life's great. I fell in love. The feeling I got when I did that, I'll never forget the way it felt, man. And I don't want to glorify it because it's terrible. But at the same time, I'm an addict. I fell in love. The first time, see, I couldn't even do it the first time. Once again, one of my boys, he's helping me. He's helping me. He's going to show me how to do this.
Yeah.
Oh, he showed me, man. And I fell in love. And once again, it was, now I got to make sure I got it at all times. My life was already unmanageable by this point. Completely unmanageable. I had a serious problem. I didn't see it that way. I didn't see it like that. I didn't see like, oh, all right, I just went way off the deep end. I finally crossed that line. I didn't look at it like that. Because by then there was no line for me. I had already sniffed the line.
Yeah.
It was gone. You know, there was no more line to cross. I sniffed it, and now I'm shooting it. So that was it. This is life for me now.
So what changed in your relationships with family, friends, and yourself during this time?
Oh my God. So
Everything?
once again, I'm a monkey, right? So I can't sell bananas.
Yeah.
I burned all those bridges. Nobody's gonna come to Art now and be like, hey man, I trust you with this amount. Go ahead, go out there and you know what I mean? If I didn't have money, I wasn't getting it. And if I didn't have it, I was sick. So now all bets are off. I'll do whatever I gotta do to make sure I'm not sick. Right? So one by one, I started burning bridges with family and friends. Burning them, stealing, whatever I could do, I was doing. And one by one, man, I pushed everybody who loved me out of my life. For one of two reasons. I either pushed them out because they wanted to see me do better and they kept reminding me of that every time I seen them. Like, hey, man, you look terrible. You're sick. You need help. I didn't want to hear that shit. Get off my back, bro. What are you bothering me for? Or I abused the relationships that I had with them to the point where they just didn't want me around. Like I said, between stealing, burning, man, I some people say you burn bridges, bro. I took demolition of mine, man. I blew them up. I strapped C4 to my bridges and blew them to pieces. And yeah, man, I messed up. I messed up all my relationships, man. All of them. I'm lucky to the point where I have some friends who understood, right? And family who understood. And they stuck by me, man, even when they didn't have to. When I was at my worst, I gave everybody in my life a reason to hate me, man. You know? And that's why I love recovery too, because it's like, when I got clean, I wanted to be mad at people. Like, wow, you left me at my worst. But through doing work on myself, I was able to realize I gave them reasons to do what they did to me. I have a nickel in every single one of these quarters. Sometimes more than a nickel. Sometimes I own the quarter. You know, so it's like, yeah, I destroyed every relationship I had in my life. And the ones I didn't destroy, I purposely pushed away. Like my mom. My mom wanted to be there for me regardless. I need you away from me. Because you are reminding me of who I am right now. And I don't want that.
Yeah.
You know, so just stay away from me. Yeah, man, I took a wrecking ball to everybody's life, Brandon, man. I took a wrecking.
Did your addiction ever lead you to being homeless?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. The first time I was homeless, I was right around 30. And my sons were 9 and 6. And actually my sons were 12 and 9. What am I talking about? Yeah, 12 and 9. And I had gotten to a point where I could no longer support myself. I couldn't. By this time, I was a booster. So what I would do is I would go out all day. I'd dress up nice. Even though I didn't look good, I would dress up nice. And I would go to department stores, man, and I'd go boost all day. And sadly, I was good at it, you know. But on those days, because there's days where you just can't. You know, like for me, I just could. There was some days where I just couldn't go out and do that. So I would actually, on those days, take advantage of whoever it was in my life. And one day I was staying with my mother and I had nowhere else to go. And it just so happens that I took something from her, man, and she wasn't having it no more. You know, she's like, I love you, but you can't, you're stealing from me. I can't have you here. And I had nowhere else to go. So I ended up having to go to a homeless shelter here in a city in Rhode Island. And that first night, I'll never forget, man. I seen the illest shit ever. I laid down in this bunk. It was almost like a minimum security It was on the prison grounds here, as a matter of fact. And it's almost like a minimum security thing, like a dorm where it's just bunks. And I look over this way, and there's some guy, he's got mental illness for sure, just killing it.
Yeah.
And then I look over this way, and there's somebody going underneath someone's bed to steal their stuff from under. I'm like, what the fuck is going on, man? Like, what am I doing here? And again, it was one of the missed opportunities, right? It was like I could have been like, all right, now it's time to get clean, man. You got to get clean. I didn't do that. I found somebody who was using that I went and would go and like couch surf, you know? So I was homeless for a little while back then. And I ended up being homeless, but couch surfing, you know? That's not the same to me. That's not the same. Like when you stay in a homeless shelter, bro, that's a different feeling, man. You know, and it gets worse for me down the line, but eventually, I ended up getting out of that situation. I went on to methadone, and I'm not gonna say I straightened my life out, because I definitely didn't, right? But by getting on methadone, it helped me get stable a little bit. But I never did that program right neither. I abused the shit out of that, you know, because when I would go, I don't know how it is. I mean, actually, I do, because one methadone clinic is like every other one. I don't care what anyone says. You go there, you could get whatever you want in that line, bro. Whatever you want.
Yeah.
And, you know, MAT is meant for you to abstain from those other things, take that and stabilize your life. That's not what I used it for, man. I used it just so I didn't get sick. I still used everything else, but on the days I couldn't get everything else, at least I had this so I wasn't sick.
Right.
And it stayed like that for me for a few years. But in those few years, I still destroyed everything, man. I destroyed my you know, I wasn't a good father. I wasn't a good son. I wasn't a good person. I just wasn't, you know. But yeah, so for a few years it stayed that way. And then you know, it started up again. I started losing all of my friends to fentanyl when fentanyl dropped. All of my friends started dying one by one. I got 16 friends in the ground right now from fentanyl. Nobody sent out flyers with the stuff. Like, hey, this stuff is way more potent than the dope you guys are used to, right? And it'll kill you. You can't do the same amount. I was cautious when I used, if that could be a thing, right? If I got something from someone and I'm used to doing like a big shot of it, right? I wouldn't do that. I would test it first, do a little tiny bit and see where it got me. And then I would do the actual amount that I needed to do, right? Sounds smart, still not. It's dumb, you know, it's dangerous. But that's what saved my life, being that way. My friends, they weren't so lucky, man. And I, you know, one by one, they started dropping. And that's also when I started getting out of control with crack too. Once you add both of those into the mix, that was it, man. That's when that's when rock bottom started for me. But my rock bottoms just kept having trap doors in them, you know? Like I would hit boom and be like, damn, I can't get no lower than this. Sure enough,
yeah,
boom, trap door, another rock bottom, worse than before, you know? And I couldn't break the cycle. It just kept going.
So what was the moment where you said, how did I get here? This isn't who I am.
Never said this out loud to anybody other than, you know, my sponsor knows, but I never said this out loud. I took my son's motorcycle. I gotten him a little electric motorcycle, and I had took that to the dude that I got my dope from, and I gave him that for dope. And I'll never forget that I was crying while I was shooting it. Like, damn, man, you know, because I always had this thing, right, where I'd be like, all right, I'm all messed up and you know, I'm terrible, but at least I'm not doing this. And one of those my at least things was at least I'm not stealing from my kids until I stole from my kid, man. That's when it was like, wow, you know, you can't get no lower, bro. That was the one point in my life where I felt so low I could have played handball off the curb, man. You know, I was down there. And it wasn't enough for me to stop yet. But that's really when, for me, I was like, and the crazy part about it is I accepted it. I accepted it. Well, hey, look, this is what I am then, you know. That's hard for me to say, to be honest with you. You know, it's tough for me to be able to say, like, I got so low that I stole my kid's motorcycle and traded it for drugs, man. But that's what it is. And I say that because I hope that somebody sees this that's in that point in their life and they understand, like, there's a better way, man. You know, because I personally believe that an addict, any addict, can get clean, lose the desire to use, and find a new way of life. And that's why I'm doing this podcast with you. That's why I got my TikTok account, bro. That's why I do this. I'm not trying to make no money or anything like that.
Right.
If I can help one person get out of where I was, that's good for me, man.
Yep.
That's payment enough.
I agree. So what pushed you to get clean the first time in September 2023?
So by that time, because that's actually fast forwarding quite a few years from when I realized I was just really down and out, right? By that time, I had been in Boston. I had been in the city of Boston, South Boston. I had been there for about a year and a half. By this time, I was fully engulfed in homeless life. I was living in homeless shelters all over the city of Boston. I was getting high on Mass Avenue in Boston, which is like, it's just an open air drug market, bro. Like you could just, I mean, there were times I shot up right in front of police with police literally watching me do it. They don't care because you're right here and you're not spread out along the city doing the shit, right? That was the whole point of it. It's called methadone mile, mass and gas. Anybody from Boston, anybody really from New England will tell you it's hell on earth, man. And by this time, I couldn't go to any of the shelters there because I kept getting into fights. I kept stealing from people stealing from me. Like it was just, it was insane, right? I was living pure insanity. So I was living under a bridge in South Boston, right near a street called East Berkeley. And that was my life. I was every day living under there. And by this time, the story I'm about to get into, right? By this time, I had already overdosed twice because out there, there's something called trank dope, which is like it's Fetty, but it also has xylazine in it, which is, the stuff is just terrible, man. It's terrible. I don't even know why someone would mix the two, to be honest with you. It's a diabolical bastard that came up with this. It makes it twice as addicting, twice as strong. It's killing people every single day there. It's killing people every day in Kensington, Philadelphia, in every major city. It's killing people, this mixture. It's terrible. But so one night, early September 2023, I was in a place called the Boston Commons, which is basically like Boston Central Park. I had just lost my older brother, my older brother, Brian, God rest his soul, my hero, you know, like somebody I really looked up to in life. He had just passed away in June 11th. I'm sorry. Yeah, June 11th. So it's September 18th. So it's a couple months in between. And I was sitting on a bench. It's the bench in the picture that I sent you. I was sitting on this bench and I had a gram of Fetty in my pocket. I was with this girl. It was about 4 a.m, quarter past 4 ish, right around there. And I think subliminally I was just trying to wrap it up. Like I had enough, man. I was so down. I took out the whole thing, man. I put it on my hand, and a lot of it spilled. Not all of it went in, but I just like that. And as soon as I did that, I remember her. Oh my God, you're gonna die. And then I felt like myself hit the ground. And then next thing I know, I'm coming to. And I got this thing in my mouth, the thing that they put in your mouth to make you breathe.
Yeah.
So I got that in my mouth. And I'll tell you right now, I don't know how they got that in there. If I was awake, they wouldn't get that in there. The tube was like that long.
Yeah.
So I sat up, and I'll never forget when I like did an Undertaker sit up, when he sits up in the casket. I did one of those, and I just pulled the thing out of my mouth. But when I sat up like that, the lady who was in front of me, kneeling down, pressing that thing, dude, she fell back. She was scared to death. And they're like, I'm mad at them, right? Because they knock-canned me, and they robbed me of my high, right? So I'm mad at them because when you get knock-canned, you come through, bro. You're sick.
That's it. Yeah.
You're sick. That's it. There's no it kills everything right here, and you're just sober. You're clean immediately. And I didn't like that, man. That was the first time that ever happened to me where I just sat up and felt instantly sick. Like I was instantly in withdrawals. I was mad, man. So I started yelling at them. What did you do that for? And the lady was like, sir, you were blue. You were not breathing when we got here. In fact, you're one of the luckiest people I ever seen in my life. She said, you got found by so there was a jogger who was running through the park, right? At like 4:30 in the morning. And he got so tired of finding people in that park overdosed that he couldn't help, that he went and took a Narcan administration class. And now every time he would jog through there, he'd have Narcan on him.
Yeah.
Bro, that man saved my life. And I wouldn't know him today if I tripped over him. He didn't stick around to get a handshake, a pat on the back, nothing. A thank you. He hit me with that Narcan. It wasn't enough to wake me up, but it was enough to get me breathing. And called the ambulance for me. And when I woke up, he was gone, but the EMTs were there. And they're like, listen, you got to come with us. And I'm like, dude, I ain't going with you. I'm sick. I got to go get my stuff, man. I can't be like that. And the lady was like, sir, you could go back into a withdrawal right now. Like the second we leave, you could go back in. You have to come get observed. And I'm fighting it tooth and nail, right? They pull out a stretcher. They put me on it. And when they did, I'll never forget, the lady said to me, so my whole life, right, using people who loved me would try to get to me with words. You're better than this. Change. I want what's best for you. Why don't you want what's best for yourself? All this stuff. And it's part of the reason why I went to New York. I mean, I went to New York first and stayed there for a couple of weeks. Then I went to Boston. And it's part of the reason I did it, because everybody was on me. All the people who loved me. Please, you got to change. Because by this time, there was no denying it. I knew I was an addict. Everybody else knew I was an addict. I looked horrible. I weighed 118 pounds. I was not okay. I was very sick. And I just left because I didn't want to hear it no more. I wanted to go somewhere, be me, do my drugs until I died. I had reserved myself to the fact that this is how I was going to go, by an overdose. And I wanted to be left alone while I did it. I didn't want my son coming up bothering me. I didn't want my mother bothering me. I wanted to be left. My friends, by this time, I only had 3 left, but they loved me where I was at, how I was. And I didn't want to hear it from none of them. So I went to Boston where I could just be alone, man, and use until I died. And that's all I wanted. Well, this lady says to me while I'm on that gurney, do you have kids? And I was like, yeah, I got kids. And she asked me how old they were. And I told her, they're 21 and 18. And she goes, so they're about to start having kids themselves. And I was like, yeah, I guess. Lady, like, what do you want from me? You know what I mean? And she goes, well, you were just seconds away from this scenario. Your kid taking their kids to this park, to this bench, and saying, see this bench? This is where your grandfather died from an overdose. And for the first time in my life, man, somebody's words hit me, because I never seen it that way. my sons telling their kids that I died from an overdose, homeless in a park. That's when it changed for me, man. My thought process started to change. I didn't want that. You know, I didn't want that. And I wish I could tell you that day I stayed clean, right? But I didn't. I still had $20 left in my pocket, and I hadn't eaten in days. So I took that $20, and I remember walking to this place in Dorchester where I was going to go cop these projects in Dorchester, Massachusetts, Boston. And the whole walk, I'm like, bro, you haven't eaten in days. You're taking your last $20 and you're going to go get this shit with it? But that's what I did, man. I took that $20 because I was sick. I was sick. I was literally withdrawing. And I went and copped. And it didn't do nothing. It was only a 20. It didn't do shit. I was still sick. And I said to myself, I went back over to where that bridge was, where I was at, and I sat down and I thought, I could get up, I could go rob somebody, right? Because I had a pistol on me at the time. I could go rob. I had a pistol that I had hidden under the bridge, right? I could get up, I could take this, I could go rob somebody, I could have the money to do what I need to do. Or, and if I do that, I reserve the fact that my kids are going to have that opportunity still to take their children over here, show them this bridge. Your grandpa died under here from a drug overdose. Or I could go to the hospital. And that's what I did. I walked down the street to Boston Medical, and I walked right past the areas where people are using. And I walked in that hospital, and I told them my story. Like, hey, man, I'm an addict. I'm withdrawing, and you know, I need help. And they were like, listen, there's nothing we can do for you. Like, we're not a detox. And I was like, damn, man, if I go back out there, like the stuff I need is right across the street. If I go back out there, it's surely death for me. That's it. That's my death sentence. And I remember there was this old black guy in there, and you could tell he'd been around the block a few times, right? He looked at me and he goes, listen, if you don't want him to get you out of here, you got to look that nurse in the face and tell her that if you leave here, you're going to hurt somebody or hurt someone else. I said, bet, say less, man. I walked up to that nurse. I was like, look, if I leave here, I'm going to kill myself, but I'm going to kill 2 or 3 people before they take me, before I kill myself. And she goes, all right, come with me. And they walked me right into a psych hole for 42 hours, man. They stuck me in a fucking padded room in the hospital. And I withdrew in there, man, for 2 days. I was sick, bro. I was man. I was not okay. I was not all right. I was in a rough shape. And after that, they was like, all right, look, you gotta go. Can't stay here, you know. So I had no cell phone at the time, no numbers. The only thing I had to my life at this time was the emptiest garbage bag you ever seen, man. It had like 4 pairs of socks in there. It had some dirty ass jeans in there. By this time, I was wearing, like, anybody who knows me knows I love my sneakers, right? I got a bunch of them. I love my sneakers. By this time, I didn't even have my sneakers, bro. I had I'm a size 10. I was wearing on my feet a size 13 kid from the homeless shelter. I looked like I was wearing, you know them things that you swim in?
Yeah.
I looked like I was walking around in skis, bro. My feet were mad long. And it was crazy because that's just not me, you know? But anyway, I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't have no numbers, nothing. And I'm not from Boston. I got nobody who loves me here, right? But I remembered, I know my aunt's number, but it's to her landline. Who the fuck's got a landline anymore? It's 2025. It's the first number I learned in my life, my auntie's number.
Yeah.
What's the chances that she still has this phone? I call it. It's ringing. I'm like, yes. Fucking answering machine picks up. So now I'm like, and for any kids that will see this, I don't mean an answering machine on the cell phone.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the answering machine to the house.
Yeah.
Who the fuck has one of them anymore? And if they do have them, who checks it?
Yeah.
My auntie. I left a message. I'm like, Auntie, man, I'm stuck up here. I want to come home. I need to change. I got to get out of here. Yo, my auntie's 73 years old. When I got my mother 72 years old, and both of them drove from Providence all the way to Boston to come get me. And by this time, neither one of them had seen me in a year and a half. And I was sitting outside of the Boston Medical on the ground. It was raining. They both walked right by me. They didn't even recognize me, man. And I remember that point saying to myself, like, them two women love you to death. And they don't even know who you are right now. Looked right at me, just didn't know it was me.
Yeah.
118 pounds, man. And when they walked by, man, I was just like, hey. And they turned and looked, and I'll never forget the look on both of their faces when they looked at me, man. Just like horror. Like, oh my God, what happened? And that was right around the time that I made up my mind, man. Like, I gotta straighten out. I have to. And this time it ain't for my kids. It ain't for my mom. It's not for anybody else. It's for me. I need to do this for me because I don't want to live like this no more. So that's when it hit home. Like, I got to get clean. So we went back to Providence, and I kicked on my mother's couch, cold turkey. And it took me a while, bro. Like, it took me a long time to be able to sleep normal and stuff like that. But with 9 days clean, I started feeling normal, like strong enough to get up and move around, And it was a humbling experience for me too, because 42 years old, turning 43, man, I'm withdrawing on my 72-year-old mother's couch, shitting and pissing on myself from being dope sick. It was crazy, man. And 9 days in, I went to my first meeting, my first NA meeting. And that's a whole nother story, man. Like, I really thought when I walked in there, everybody in there was going to be like me, getting off of the bus, going inside, everybody wearing dingy clothes and being sick. And that's not what I walked in on, man. I walked in on a room with a bunch of people that were happy-go-lucky and had nice stuff. And that started a whole new problem. I'm like, these fucking people are lying their asses off. None of them had a drug problem. And if they did, they didn't use like I did. I didn't realize I walked into a room with fucking hundreds of years of clean time in there.
So when you walked in that room and you sat down in the meeting, did a light go off in your head? Like, oh, I can do this?
No. The light that went off in my head was, these fucking people are lying.
Yeah.
They're full of shit. I don't believe not one of them. There was a guy in that room, right? When he raised his hand to share, he said, my name is Happy, Happy, Happy. And then he said his name. And I said, who the fuck is that happy without being high? That guy's high right now. He's lying.
Yeah.
That's what I said. Because I didn't know that we're supposed to identify and not compare, right? Because I couldn't identify with that. The only times I'm happy, happy, happy is when I got drugs.
Yeah. So when did it finally start to take effect? Like, did you continuously go to those meetings, or was it like that one time and you kept going?
No, I kept going. I didn't keep going because I wanted the program to get its hooks in me. I kept going because I wanted to get proof that they're all lying. I wanted proof. I'll never forget the first time the basket came around for the 7th tradition, right? I was like, that's it. That's what this is. These people want money. I didn't know about the 7th tradition, right? That each group is fully self-supporting. Yeah. Accepting no outside contributions. We pay for ourselves. I didn't know. And you don't know what you don't know. So I was just like, these people are full of shit, but I'm going to keep coming. That way I can prove they're full of shit. And what happened was, a gentleman who's my friend now, he's my girl's friend too. He's a great guy, right? He's one of the founding members of NA here in my state. He's got 44 years clean. And I didn't notice at the time, but I watched this old man get up to the podium to chair the meeting, right? And I'm like, what is this guy going to say? He's 70 something years old. What is he going to say that's going to affect me? And you know what happened? He told my exact story, but he just did it in the 70s. That's what got me. I started listening. I'm like, wow, this guy lived exactly like me. His progression was almost exactly like mine. But now he's got 44 years clean. He's retired. He's got a great life. How the fuck did he do this? So that's when I got hooked. I got hooked on NA the second I seen an old man get up and share my story and how he got out of all of it. That's when I started listening. That's when I started wanting what they were offering, which was a life of complete freedom from addiction. But I knew if I wanted it, if I wanted what they had, I had to do what they did. So I had to start listening. I had to stop judging. I had to start comparing, and I had to start identifying. You know, I had to stop. It's literally when I started to change, when I realized that, you know, these people had the answers for my problem. And by the way, my problem was not a drug problem. I had a drug problem, but that was a symptom of the real problem, which is me.
Right.
You know, so I started paying attention. I started listening. I started getting involved. And it saved my life, man.
So how is your life now? Like, what have you learned about yourself during this whole sobriety thing?
I learned that I'm a good man. I'm capable of being a good man. I'm capable of being a good father, a good son, a good brother, a good friend, a good man in a woman's life. I'm also capable of helping people. I'm capable of compassion, which I never had when I was using. I realized I was capable of compassion once I got clean and I started building a conscience, which I also have now that I never had, because I think about some of the things I did to use, right? I did not feel bad. You know, a lot of the stuff I did to use, I didn't feel bad until I got clean and looked back at it like, wow, man, I really did somebody who loves me like this. That's crazy. You know, it took a while, man, for me to stop feeling better about myself. We were talking about this in somebody's live yesterday about building self-esteem in the program. You know, how recovery helps you build self-esteem. And it did. It helped me. It helped me. I started realizing a lot of things about myself that I didn't know.
So what advice can you give somebody still struggling if they are listening to this right now?
Hope. Hold on. Pain ends. There's help out here if you want it, right? You can beat this disease. You can't beat it forever. Like, addiction is such addiction is a disease that it will put you down and keep you there unless you fight back. And the way to fight back, for me, I can only give you what works for me. For me, I had to do it for myself. I could not do it for somebody else. Every time I tried to stop using for someone else, I relapsed. I went right back. For me, I had to get into a program. I had to learn about myself. And the way I did that was through NA. And be open to suggestions. Be open-minded. Be willing. And you can make it out if you want to. All right? You just have to want it. It's like anything else, man. I chase my recovery the same way I chased my drugs. And if you do that, you can get clean. Any addict can get clean, lose the desire to use, and find a new way of life. And I believe that we prove that every day in my program that I'm in. I don't say my pro, I'm sorry, not my program, the program that I am in. We prove every day that addicts can get clean, lose the desire to use, and find a new way of life. As long as you're willing to do the work, because let's face it, right? You're not gonna do it on my thinking, right? Is what got me into the rooms. My thinking is what got me addicted. My way does not work. So I had to open my mind up to other ways. And to be honest, the program I'm in is the last thing I tried and the first thing that works. So that's what I would suggest to anybody else who's stuck in active addiction.
I like that. Do you have any questions for me? No. I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity, man. This is a wonderful thing. Because the bottom line is what I want to do now is help. You know, I caused a lot of pain and destruction in my life, and if I could stop, I was part of the problem since I was 9 years old. So I want to be part of the solution from here on out. I want to help. You know, I don't know if it's okay to say this, but anybody who's struggling, man, if you're on any of these social media apps that I'm on, by all means, you can contact me and I'll try to help you the best that I can. I firmly believe that no addict need die of addiction ever again. You can go ahead and say your TikTok name on here.
So on TikTok, I'm the Recovering Addict. On Instagram, I'm the Sober Addict _1981. Anybody who's looking for help, anybody who needs help, anybody who just wants another addict to talk to, by all means, DM me and we'll chop it up, man, and we'll see what we can do. But hope, man, hope. Hold on, pain ends.
I like that. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story, man.
I appreciate you for having me, Brandon. Thank you very much, man.
Next year we'll do like a follow-up.
Sounds good to me.
You know what I mean? See where you're at, see how life is and how good it is.
It gets greater later.
Yeah. Yep. And then once it starts getting great, it keeps getting greater.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Absolutely, man. 100%. I 100% agree. But yeah, man, I thank you for the opportunity, bros. It was a blessing.
Of course.
It was a blessing. I had a good time with you.
I'll edit this and then I'll send you some clips and then it'll be on YouTube and Spotify. I'll send you the link for everything so you can post it.
All right. Sounds good, man.
All right, brother. Have a good day.
Thanks a lot, Brandon. Have a good day, brother.
All right.
Peace.
There you have it. There's Art. Came on, shared a story. He was broken to redemption. Now he lives a great life. I will be recording 2 more episodes back to back. So stay tuned for more.